Anyway, we had an interesting weekend here in North Carolina, specifically in Wilkes County. Just a
Speaking of
little
multi-time winners,
yeah. Um, just a little special event happened this weekend in Wilkes County.
What?
Um, uh, I don't know. Um, is this little thing called the All Star Race? Just I don't know. I don't know if it seemed a little hyped up. I don't know too much about it, but no, seriously, a NASCAR All Star Race, not returned, but went to North Wilkesboro for the first time in 27 years.
Yeah, that made my heart happy to see those cars on that track.
it was very cool to
So
see, and it was cool
yeah,
to see the changes that they were able to make since they started doing the renovations.
and the
I
venue,
love what they did with the track too. They kept it looking old, but at the same time, they just touched it up and they did all
yep,
the things that were needed to be done, like put safer barriers in
yep.
and make all the modern updates for it, which I absolutely love how they did it.
The venue looks great, and there's no, I mean, there's no other way to put it. From how it was left, you know, 6 years ago or so, with weeds going through the concrete and looking like it was a, uh, a homeless camp. It's now restored to its former glory.
All thanks to Dale Jr. and his cleanup day, and I think it was 2020, 2019, something like that.
Somewhere around there. Um, so yeah, we had Truck Series on Saturday and the All Star Race Sunday nights. Truck Series was a great race. It was a
I
typical short
enjoyed
track
it.
race. That was a fun race.
That really
Um,
was.
what?
Guys, it felt like an old fashioned street track. Man, I can't think today. It felt like an
that,
old
that
fashioned.
that's later in July.
Yeah, it felt like an old fashioned short track race. I
And it
felt
was
like
fun.
the ghost of Dale Earnhardt was there, making sure everything went well and everybody was beating on each other, trying to rattle each other's cage.
Maybe. Um, so Kyle Larson got the Truck Series win on Saturday, third career win in the Truck Series, one of which has come at Rockingham. That was his first win in NASCAR. Unless you count the K&N Series, I technically don't. If they're the top three series, um, but yeah. So his first win came at The Rock, which I'm hoping to see come back in the next 5 years. That would be awesome.
I think it will be. I give
It,
it 2 years.
it's coming. I think I think something's in the work.
It's in a
Um,
lot better shape than Wilkes was.
yes, 100%. Um,
And it's
so
still used for various things, like for concerts and stuff.
yes, I mean it's a great venue. There's no doubt about that. And like you said, it was left in a lot better condition than North Wilkesboro was.
So, yeah, I think it'll be back. I give The Rock 2 years.
Yeah, give it a couple years definitely. And so yeah, great to see North Wilkesboro back on the schedule. Truck race went well. Cup race, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Um, I, I'm biased, obviously, but I enjoyed myself because it was different. First race I ever got to watch at North Wilkesboro. Um, because I was born in 2000, so I never got to witness, North Wilkesboro in its prime. So it was very interesting to see a brand new track to the schedule, much like
Brand
Road
new.
America. Yeah, brand new, quote unquote, for me at least. Much like Road
Hey,
America.
same thing for me.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and it was interesting. It was very interesting. Long green flag runs. Only had one caution throughout the All Star race, and that's what North Wilkesboro is known for. Long extended periods of green flag runs, tires being chewed up, and it wasn't a great race, but it wasn't a bad race at the same time.
I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people have been complaining about it, saying they should never go back, but I enjoyed it. I was entertained throughout the whole thing. I wasn't falling asleep like, say, the last F1 race at Baku.
I
Ouch.
definitely thought it was entertaining. I mean, what I thought was most entertaining about it was the different driver strategy. We see a lot of pit strategy and stuff like that, but there was a lot of driver strategy and how they were going to run the race, what kind of lines they were going to run, and obviously they talked about it a lot on the broadcast. Those patches that were down on the ground just to give a little bit of extra grip. I thought that was really interesting. We saw Kevin Harvick, who was practically running the wall for a little bit there and was making some really good time, was getting some really good runs up there. Obviously, didn't have quite the finish he wanted, but just seeing those different things, seeing how Kyle Larson would cut off the exit a little bit and would kind of go down towards the apron, just all the differing strategies as far as how to drive on this racetrack, I thought was really interesting to me because nobody had really had that experience other than in a sim before this and maybe a test session here or there. So getting to see all those different ways the drivers drove and seeing Kyle Larson, who had figured it out, who had clearly figured it out the best. It was a master class that sometimes, they're not the most exciting things to see, but it in NASCAR, right? When drivers put on one of the best performances of their career, it's usually not going to be the most exciting thing. But you have to stop and appreciate the performance that Kyle Larson put on last night because it was an absolute butt kicking and it was probably one of his best. And it will be remembered. At least it'll be remembered in his eyes a lot more than it'll be remembered for some of these other fans. But it should be remembered more.
I think it should be remembered just for the track itself, too. I think that should, his car almost should be in donated to the track, or I've never been, so I don't know what the insides look in it, or if they could be able to put his car in there. But yeah, I mean, and I'm not the biggest Kyle Larson fan in the world either, I'll put it that way, but that was a fantastic race driven by him. And it
Woo.
was there you go.
For you audio listeners, he just held up his Kyle Larson car. That was Jacob.
That's my 2021 Cup Series champion car.
Ah.
I've got it. I've just got it sitting on my desk. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt, Chris.
But yeah, I mean, I think that'll be remembered. It should be remembered. And this is another reason why we don't need stages, because we don't get performances like that with stages.
You're absolutely right. And that I'm pretty sure NASCAR has to check that car out because I'm pretty sure they put the T-Rex chassis from the 1997 All-Star race underneath that car, just because how fast it was, or just put rocket fuel in the car instead of Sunoco. But I've never seen anything like that in a long time. The last one that I can really remember being that dominant was Truex at the Coke 600 in 2016, where he led like 385 laps out of the 400. And that's before we had stages. And we won't see performances like that often anymore because of stages.
And to me, there's nothing wrong with that. Because there's a difference between. Oh, go ahead.
Well, just like I said, it's unfortunate that those good performances aren't like they're not appreciated as much because it's considered stinking up the show in NASCAR versus when a guy has a great game in the NFL, it's an entirely different story versus a guy in NASCAR who, yeah, the best performance of his career, but damn it, the racing sucked because he stunk up the show. That's the topic of conversation, not the fact that he just had the best performance of his career. And that's just the unfortunate part about motorsports. And I wish things would be slightly different.
Yeah, and two, there's a difference between, say, this and Max Verstappen leading the race and it being a snoozer. Because, I mean, I don't know. I just thought that was a special thing to see. And it's more special than just to see, say, Max Verstappen beat the field by like 12 seconds.
I think the hard part is that it was the All-Star race is a winner-take-all event. And, had this have been kind of a regular season event and had things have played out that way, I think people might view it differently. But because it's a winner-take-all event, the fact that you didn't have that winner-take-all moment with the lead, towards the end, I think that kind of took a little bit away from how fans felt about it. So like I said, had this have been a regular season race and had it have been 400 laps or something like that and the same result, I think you're seeing a little bit different fan reaction because it was more of a regular season race versus that the winner take all format where all that matters is really who won the race. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which also begs the question, will Cup return?
Yes.
I think so.
I think so.
Crazy idea.
It's an 80% chance.
I have a crazy idea. People may not like it. That's fine. You guys may not like it. That's fine. But I think the throwback race at Darlington. I think you drop that race. Darlington loses a date. You move the throwback race to North Wilkesboro.
Okay.
Darlington gets one race a year because you can't keep that second date with there's not going to be attendance. There's no reason for people to go to that race when there's Southern 500. It adds more to the Southern 500 going to Darlington one race a year. There's more excitement to go back there. So I think you drop that first Darlington race. You make the North Wilkesboro race right in that slot. I think it fits in perfectly. You make that your throwback race, and I think it adds that sort of spark back to the throwback race that I think we're looking for when it comes to the throwback weekend.
Also makes Southern 500 a more of a crown jewel event.
That's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
It's supposed to have that sort of feel, and I feel like for me, I remember the days when Darlington was just you only went there one time, and then we had the years of going there two times, and I didn't like the years of going there twice. I always liked going there once because it lost some of the prestige the second time you went. And lately, the second time we've gone has been the Southern 500, so you feel like it loses it a little bit. So I think going there one time a year really helps that sort of crown jewelish feel, especially because it is considered a crown jewel in the sport of NASCAR. It's considered one of the big 3 or 4. I think it's 3 now without the Brickyard 400. So you can say 4 if you count the Bass Pro Shops night race, but technically there's 3 crown jewel races, and that one is one of them. But it definitely needs to have that prestige up. Moving one of those dates away from Darlington, I think, is going to be very helpful in that, and very helpful with the throwback race as well as North Wilkesboro coming back onto the schedule as well. I think it's a win-win scenario that it's the best scenario if they want to bring North Wilkesboro on the schedule full time.
Yeah, I like that idea too. It just makes sense. It's too logical for NASCAR though.
Yeah. You would think, right? Like it makes way too much sense for them to make this decision. Now it's on NASCAR. So, if they make this decision, I'm just saying we know full well they listen to this podcast and they hear us. So I'm glad you hear us, NASCAR. Make sure you keep listening. We're going to have plenty more ideas. Jacob and Chris, by the end of the year, are going to know exactly how to get rid of your playoff system. Be ready for that.
I think we already do.
Just go ahead and give us the keys to the whole thing. We'll fix it.
We're the geniuses here, obviously.
Take that, Steve Phelps.
Oof. Yeah, I completely agree. I think honestly, all 3 series is going to go there in one weekend eventually. I don't think it'll happen next year, but maybe in 2025. And if that becomes a throwback weekend, it'd be awesome. I love Darlington. It's one of my favorite racetracks. I don't want to say that the Darlington throwback weekend has run its course, but as it gets older and older and older in age, it'll definitely run its course. So maybe throw North Wilkesboro there in the mix. I think that'd be cool, and it'll be nostalgic. It'll be very nostalgic, because the Southern 500 throwback weekend was awesome. That was awesome. The spring throwback weekend, okay, it's still pretty cool, but it doesn't hit as hard as the Southern 500 throwback weekend, and it never will, never. Now if you go to North Wilkesboro, it'll top the Southern 500 weekend.
That and two, that's literally where it started.
Exactly.
That area. So, I mean, and I don't know. Do y'all know who Gwen Staley is? The Staleys?
I do.
Yeah, my mom knew his, I think it was his son, and he'd go around helping my mom. If she got into car trouble, he'd always show up and help my mom out. And to me, they are the first family in NASCAR. Say what you will about the Frances, but I consider the Staleys one of the founders.
Yeah, that would have been it would definitely be interesting if they can, figure something out with North Wilkesboro in the future for a throwback weekend, let alone a cup date for a points paying race.
I want to say something else about this. Now, spending quite a lot of time and having family from North Wilkesboro, if you've lived in North Wilkesboro for quite a bit of time, you have some sort of connection to NASCAR. I have a cousin that was on the pit crew. He was their tire specialist. And they knew Michael Waltrip personally and went over to his house for dinner every so often. And I don't know. When you hear NASCAR drivers start talking and telling stories, old time drivers, it feels like your uncles are telling stories, sitting there telling stories. And I think that's an experience that everybody should have. And I think North Wilkesboro should come back for that reason. And I even think it should become a crown jewel event.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where I don't know how to really word this, but if it gets the proper proper hype that it deserves, and like this weekend was overhyped.
Yeah.
If it gets the proper hype that it deserves and it should, people are treating it like a normal race and not as the return in North Wilkesboro. And don't get me wrong, it was a great weekend of racing at North Wilkesboro, whether you like the race or not.
I loved it.
I thought it was cool.
It was very entertaining. A lot of three wide racing on a short track. It's something that we see, especially in our short track racing days. We really only see it when guys are sending it into turn one at Richmond. So definitely a very good racing weekend, especially for a track that is as old as North Wilkesboro is, with the way the pavement is and everything. I mean, you see the patches. It looks and drives the way it looks.
Yep.
And another thing too is I noticed during the racing is there was actually a lot more contact than I thought it would be. Am I wrong to say it's more contact beating and banging there than, say, Martinsville?
I felt it was kind of a similar amount.
I thought it was pretty similar.
let's keep in mind, guys, Larson, I don't know if you guys watched the heat races. Larson smacked the crap out of the wall
He
in the
did.
heat
Oh
race.
yeah.
And he stunk. He was like, he finished like, I don't know, like 10th maybe to start 20th. And when he was on the restart for the first caution, he started dead last because he sped. And somebody posted like a 7-minute clip onto Twitter, and in those 7 minutes, it was him driving all the way to the front.
It's like he was playing NASCAR Heat on easy difficulty, on like 10% AI or something.
That's what it felt like.
I think Saturday for the heat race, he had ran that heat race right after the Truck Series race. I guarantee you he was just tired. And then Sunday he got some sleep, and then he's like, all right, boom. And then he absolutely kicked butt on Sunday. I mean, and he joins elite company with that third win as well. There's only a few drivers with 3 all-star wins. Larson won it in 2019, 2021, 2023. Then you have Jimmy Johnson.
Joins this guy. He joins this guy right here.
Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, both HMS drivers who won it 3 times. Jimmy Johnson won it 4 times. And then Dale Earnhardt also winning it 3 times. So he joins elite company, and specifically elite company within HMS. So a big deal for Kyle Larson. And with the way it's been going, 2019, 2021, 2023, he'll be the winner in 2025, wherever the All-Star race is at that point.
And don't forget, this is his 3rd different All-Star win on 3 different tracks.
I also want to say this, too. I don't think North Wilkesboro likes Larson that much. Because look what it did to him. I think he hit the wall, actually, twice.
He hit it at least once during the heat race.
And then he sped in the pit lane and all that and got all kinds of trouble. I don't know what all. And then I'm starting to sound like I'm from Wilkes County all of a sudden. And then he goes and he wins anyways. I don't think the track likes him very much, but he don't care.
He does not. I think he loves that place now. Because he's 2 for 2 there.
I really want to see it go back so badly, because I thought that was a very entertaining race. Because like Mason was saying, all the different driving lines there, then the tires. And I don't know if you saw this. I think it was in one of the heat races. There was one guy that pitted for rear tires only.
Harrison Burton
did.
Yeah, yep. He pitted for just rear tires, and it didn't work out. But hey, if there's any place to try that sort of thing, especially with the new, the 7th generation vehicle, this was the time to do it in an exhibition style race where they probably weren't going to have the best shot at winning the Open with the other cars that were in the Open anyways. So why not try something? It didn't work out. I want to know what changing front tires will do versus rear tires. I'm intrigued by that. So maybe they'll try it again. I hope so. I hope they change the front tires next time.
That was a very interesting thing to try. That really intrigued me. That's another reason why I really liked it. Maybe this should be like a shootout track before preseason exhibition race track too.
A clash.
Yeah, a
Maybe.
clash.
That could definitely be a possibility. I think it honestly depends on how much they continue to enjoy the LA Coliseum, which me and Jacob have talked about. We're kind of hit or miss. It's a hit or miss sort of ordeal. I know I am okay with the LA Coliseum, but seeing the season start off in North Wilkesboro would definitely be something that would be really cool for sure.
And two, just logically and logistically, it makes sense because Charlotte's just an hour and a half away.
It's like, it's like 2 hours
in Charlotte
versus across the country on the other coastline. That's a good point.
Like we said, it makes too much sense for NASCAR to do it.
Correct. So
personally,
yeah,
Larson, I don't like the LA Coliseum, but that's just me.
I don't mind it as much as I used to. I know we talked about it a little bit in the past, but I mean, this year's race was fun, but it was also a crap show. So, That's why they're just using it for exhibition races for now, and I hope it stays that way because it does
Yeah.
not need to be a points race.
But I think North Wilkesboro is the perfect place for an exhibition race. I will say this: if they do bring it back, it probably needs to be repaved just because, from what I've heard, it was barely raceable.
Well, maybe they can. I don't think they'll do this. Maybe they'll put a PJ1 patch around the outside line next time they go there, so that the outside line can work.
No, just put the rain tires on the cars and just call it a day. When they had
That
those
works
rain
too.
tires on there, the top lane was working like a charm. Just put the rain tires on there and you are set.
Yeah, that surprised me how the rain tires were actually faster. That got me.
That was funny.
That's how bad the asphalt was.
I love it.
But I do think that, as much as I hate to say it, it does need to be repaved because, from what I have heard, it was barely raceable.
So this is a random thought that just popped into my head, but this makes me beg the question. Like, obviously, tire wear was an issue because the pavement was really old. I don't know if it's been mentioned, but what is tire wear going to be like when we hit to the Chicago street course? Because I can tell you right now, those roads are not going to be any better than what they raced on last night. Tire
It's
wear
gonna be
could
rough.
become because in NASCAR, oh man, that's going to be very interesting to say the least.
Personally, I don't like the idea of a street race in NASCAR. I think that's just going to be a mess, and not in a good way.
I don't know if slicks were meant to go through intersections,
Well, like Chris and I were talking about earlier, I think this is just a one-off thing that they're trying out, see if it'll work or not. And if it doesn't work out as well as they're hoping it is, go back to Road America. That's what I think will happen. And speaking of the Chicago street course, news from last week concerning the Project 91. I hope I don't butcher this. I'm going to attempt this. This will be rough. Shane Van Gisbergen. Oh God. Oh God.
Oh no.
Oh gosh. Gisbergen. I think maybe
Don't
that
look at
sounds
me.
about
I'm
right.
dyslexic.
Amen. Shane Van Gisbergen will be in the 91 car for Trackhouse Racing. I think I
Why
don't
you
know.
laughing at it?
Yeah, why are you laughing? That's
Gisbergen.
rude. Gisbergen. I think. Maybe.
Probably.
Trying to look up the Van Gisbergen. It's probably Van Gisbergen.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyone who listens from New Zealand, I apologize. I'm not like this. Any time of the week, I don't butcher names. Or yeah. Anyway, so to anyone I offended, I apologize.
We call him the Butcher.
Listen, I have classes for a reason. Shane Van Gisbergen will be running the 91 car for Trackhouse Racing for Chicago. If you don't know who he is, I will tell you right now, actually. He's a 3-time Australian supercar champion and has 75 wins in the series thus far. I'm excited for that. That's going to be a good time. Kimi Räikkönen was hyped up, but this guy's going to be fun because this is playing right into his wheelhouse. And Justin Marks has done a great job with Kimi in the past couple races for Project 91. This is going to be a good one. I think Justin Marks has found him the right driver for Chicago, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see how a V8 supercar driver adapts to the next gen car. I was going to say stock car a second there, but we got to remember that Mark Zampras was in NASCAR for a couple of years. and that would be interesting to see if Marcos Ambrose would come back to try out Project 91. Now that I'm thinking about it,
It kind of fits right into his wheelhouse.
I
Yeah.
will say this too. For people that are listening or watching and don't know what V8 supercars are, it's a lot like Australian NASCAR. That's the easiest way to put it.
100%.
Except it has kangaroos.
Yeah, we don't get that here in America.
And
Well, I'll tell you.
y'all think I might be joking, but no. They've had to throw yellow flags, full course cautions, because kangaroos were on the track.
My goodness.
I've seen some videos about that.
What were you
So
saying, Mason? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah,
No, you're good. I'll say this, and I hate to burst the excitement of of Shane coming into NASCAR for the street race, but I think we had high expectations for some of those F1. We had a lot of different F1 guys, IndyCar guys that were coming over for the COTA race, and I think that it's important to make sure that we level our expectations because I was one of those guys that definitely thought those guys were going to be more successful than they might have been at COTA. So it's important to remember that this is a very difficult sport, and it's not easy for guys to just get up in the car and go out there and get a top 10. So I'm excited to see Shane in the car, but we can't expect him to go out there and pull a top 10 right away. It's not that easy. So it's going to be exciting to see him in there, and it'll be interesting to see if he kind of shows that potential to continue racing for Project 91, because he could have a very similar trajectory to as Jordan Taylor, who will be getting an opportunity in the Xfinity Series in a few weeks at Portland. It could be a very similar trajectory to him, where eventually he gets some other opportunities because of this Project 91 car. So it's really just about showing something, showing that you have the ability to run the stock car, and really, does he want to run that stock car a little bit more? But it comes down to being able to show the ability that he can do it, and he's going to have a good chance, because if you're ever going to have, a more level playing field with some of the best drivers in the country, it's going to be right here at the Chicago Street Course race, in July, where none of these guys have ran on it before. That's going to be the best chance you have at equal playing field. So it'll be very interesting to see if Gisbergen, if Van Gisbergen can have a solid run. But like I said, important to make sure that we keep our expectations in check. He's not going to go out there and get a top 10 in his first race. That's one thing I'll say for sure.
Speaking of Australian V8 supercars and new people from New Zealand, another person I'd like to see try NASCAR is Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Because he's a legend in Australia with the supercars.
And those cars, like we said, they're the closest thing that we got to NASCAR over there. But I think
is there a
he'd be
NASCAR
good.
series in Australia? Because I know they have NASCAR Euro.
I don't think they have a dedicated NASCAR Australian series, but like you said, they have NASCAR Euro.
We had NASCAR Europe has always been kind of wild to me, because you wouldn't think that would do well in Europe.
But it's huge.
Yeah.
Wow. So believe it or not, I did some quick Google searching. NASCAR did have an Australian series, and they raced in there from like the late 80s to like the 2000s ish. And then it was actually basically killed off because of some of the touring car championships, specifically those V8 powered supercars. So that's where it looks like they ran from 1989 up till 2001. Andrew Midiecki in a Chevy Monte Carlo for White Line Racing was the last champion of that series.
So it's kind of right.
Interesting.
Well, believe it or not, Kim Jane, 4-time champion, won it 4 years in a row from 96 to 2000 in the Bomb Jane T-Marts team in a Chevy Monte Carlo. So maybe people thought it was too boring because the Jimmy Johnson of Australia was there so quick. Kim Jane.
I was about to say the same thing.
On another note, Mason, when you said "wow," you went full Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. I love Owen Wilson. Wedding
I
Crashers,
love
great
Owen
movie.
Wilson.
You know
Exactly.
he's from Texas.
I did know that.
Yeah.
Ka-chow, dude.
Ciao, baby. So back to NASCAR. Coca-Cola 600 is this Sunday to finish off the greatest day in racing. Chaotic race last year. The problem that I have with that is that that's going to be the fans' expectations for Charlotte this coming weekend, and if it's nothing less than that, they're going to want NASCAR's head for that. So that's what worries me a little bit. But I expect a great race, considering the fact that we just had a great mile-and-a-half race at Kansas 2 weeks ago. So it should be an interesting race. But gentlemen, who are you guys picking for Charlotte?
My dark horse is going to be Bubba.
Okay.
And let's see. I'm thinking 24 William Byron, just because 24 and Charlotte have gone together pretty well.
They've gone pretty well together.
That's not a bad pick. I'm really sad that you took Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace is a guy that just the momentum just keeps on rolling for him, and it's the difference between last year to this year versus last year that momentum had eventually died off. It just keeps working for him right now. So keep it up, Bubba Wallace. I love the pick, Chris. I wish I would pick him too. If I had to pick a dark horse for next week, I really like Chris Buescher. You've seen some improvement out of him. He was solid this weekend. I like Chris Buescher to have a solid performance next week. And if I had to pick a winner for next week's race, it is the Coca-Cola 600. I mean, Kyle Larson's an easy pick, but I'm not going to pick Kyle Larson. I'm not. I will eventually pick Kyle Larson. I don't want to make the super easy pick. So my pick for Sunday, believe it or not, I think Kevin Harvick wins the Coke 600 in his final Coke start. That's a big pick, but I think Kevin Harvick gets it.
I can see it.
Okay, so my dark horse pick will be the 99 of Daniel Suarez.
I thought you were going to say Carl Edwards.
Ooh, I wish.
Affleck.
And my pick, I'm not going to go obvious just because the racing guys will be upset.
Oh, come on. I gave you your favorite driver to pick. I could have stolen him. I gave it to you. Pick him if you believe him.
Oh, I believe him. But the last couple of times I picked him, he's had crap luck. And that's a fact.
So pick him. It'll be a more interesting race that way. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's rude. I mean, to be fair, if he doesn't win, it saves me $120 on the diecast. So
pick him.
I'm good.
It's a money saving strategy. Just keep picking him.
Oi. I'm gonna go with Kyle Busch.
Oh, okay.
I can
Okay.
see
Kyle
that
Busch.
too.
Where was Kyle last night? I'll be honest. I feel like I didn't hear or see much.
The last I heard of Kyle Busch is he was 2 laps down before the competition caution. He was dead last.
Where did he finish? My gosh.
I have no idea.
He didn't win.
Yeah, obviously.
Really? He didn't win?
No. It's not like the man who won led 145 laps of the 200 laps last night.
See, let's see. So Kyle was. Oh, it's only giving me the All-Star Open results. Hey, what about the All-Star race results? See, apparently that doesn't exist on NASCAR.com's website. So shout out NASCAR.com for that. That's great.
I hate NASCAR.com so bad.
There needs to be some changes to it for sure. Definitely, it looks a lot like what it did when I was a kid, but it's just a way too clunky sometimes, and it's hard to get to certain things that you're trying to get because they only have like a small section of homepage, and then once it's gone, it's gone. Good luck.
So my actually, sorry, I found where Kyle Busch finished. He finished 22nd out of 24 cars.
Dang, he was a non-factor.
The only drivers who finished behind him were Noah Gragson and Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
I also never saw it on the broadcast. If they showed it, it was a time I was looking away. Did Gregson's car, were they able to fix any of that damage, or was he basically rendered as
I thought they fixed a good portion of it. It was just that the nose was caved in a little bit.
Okay, because I saw a lot of things on Twitter that people had made very good points about, like Gregson won the fan vote, and I love that. I think that's awesome, but he did have the wrecked vehicle, and everyone's like, can his car even run? And obviously he was able to run with where, he was at least able to not finish dead last, but I don't, from when I watched, I never saw anything from them talking about it. So he definitely kind of flew under the radar and was a non-factor. So will we, my question for you guys, do we ever see a all-star winner who won the fan vote win the race again? Does it ever happen again, like Casey Kane?
I think so.
I mean, in this day and age, it's so hard to tell because if we do, who was in the fan vote running last night? So Gregson won it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they obviously don't have the fan vote up on NASCAR.com anymore. Man, if we do have a fan vote winner again nowadays, like it would have to be something stupid to happen, like Chase Elliott not winning this season and him not being in and guaranteed next year, and not him making or winning the Open next year. It would take something stupid like that to happen.
That's what I was thinking. Like it's got to be like, unfortunately, one of the guys goes on a bad streak and then isn't able to get it done when it needs to happen when it comes to the All-Star race, and then eventually gets thrown into the fan vote.
Wouldn't Chase Elliott automatically be in anyway because he's a champion?
No,
I
don't think so.
That's the clash.
But previous All-Star winners do have a provisional, isn't that a thing?
Yeah. So when you win an All-Star race, you're locked in for the next 10 years.
Okay, so we would have to wait until 2030 for Chase Elliott to no longer have that provisional that gets him in every single year.
Yeah, that was just technically speaking, but point proven nonetheless. It would just have to take something stupid for that to happen.
I think it's possible.
Chris is banking they go to Daytona for the All-Star race.
Yeah, go. Ooh, I don't like that.
What kind of idea did I just give NASCAR?
A terrible one.
What have I done?
Why don't we do the All-Star race at the Chicago street track?
Oh yeah.
No.
Let's do it. Drive for $1 million down Lakeshore Drive. Let's do it.
Long Beach. Let's do it.
Yeah, Long Beach. Let's go. I'd watch it.
$1 million for Monaco.
Do they even have that kind of turning radius?
No, they drive right off into the.
They would drive right off into the marina.
That's what I'm saying. There's a car on the dock, it becomes a relic. They never touch it. It just
or goes into somebody's boat.
It's like 20 years from. Oh gosh, it's like 20 years from now. It's like a relic that like it still sits there and you could see it. So like tourists walk by and they're like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Oh, that was the time they did a NASCAR race and Kyle Busch, he drove into that. That's his car."
You see the remains down there? That's it.
That's kind of like Dale Jr.'s boneyard.
Mm-hmm. There's also a place that back home in Illinois that I can't remember exactly where it is, but there's an area where it's basically a big lake, and then there is a car that is like there's a little island out in the middle of the lake. It's not a gigantic lake. Like you can see the entire thing from the street, but there's a small little island and there's a car on that island just chilling there, and you're just like, how'd it get there? It's been there for I don't know. We don't know how'd it get there. You know, you're left to just question it. If that was to happen, right? Kyle Busch, flips into a boat in Monaco and they just leave it there, just never put up a sign, and then it's just every time. So it's like, what? How'd that happen? I don't know.
It'll be fine. Guys, that'll do it for us. If we got any final thoughts, leave them here or keep your mouth shut.
Or forever hold your peace.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is let's have an exciting weekend of racing. I am praying and hoping that we don't see any tomfoolery, if you will, at Charlotte this Sunday. That's for sure. Let's have no craziness. Let's just have a nice Sunday of racing. And NASCAR fans, we got a mile and a half back on the schedule, so let's get excited. We're back at the mile and a half track where the best racing of this Gen 7 car happens. So let's just hope and pray that there's no stupid controversy and that there's no dumb yellow flags. And I am praying that there is not a yellow flag after the leader takes the white flag. Let him get to the checkered flag, please. That's all I'm asking for. I'm excited for a good race or good racing between the top 3 series in the world at some of the best tracks. It's going to be a fantastic weekend of racing from Monaco, Indy, and Charlotte, North Carolina. So get ready. It's going to be a great weekend.
And watch the Swedes.
Yep. Just enjoy the couple of the races we got on Sunday. So they're all going to be fun. Gentlemen, I think that'll be it for us on this exciting and thrilling edition of the Outside Line podcast. Once again, my name has been Jacob Barker. I have been joined today with Chris Shoemaker and Mason Wood. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. And guys, you guys can find me on Backsports page with our Motorsports section and on Twitter and Instagram with JWBarker24. Guys, where can we find you within BSP and on social media?
My Twitter handle is CJS Outside Line. Or CJ Outside Line. I can't even remember my own Twitter. And my Backsports page is Christopher Shoemaker at Backsports page. You can find me on the site.
Heck yeah, guys. You guys can find me on Twitter at Mace Hollywood, MaceHollywOod. And then you guys can also find me if you look in the link tree on my Twitter page, you'll be able to find my Backsports page link. That'll take you to all my articles on Backsports page. I am our lead editor for the football section. So anything that you guys see coming out from my football guys, make sure that you guys are sharing that. They work really, really hard. And same with these motorsports guys as well. We all work really, really hard. So make sure that you guys are checking out our stuff. Thank you guys for always tuning in and listening to the podcast. I know the 3 of us have so much fun putting this together every single week. So we always appreciate the support, and we always get excited for new episodes. So we'll see you guys next week.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends, people.
Have fun. Make new friends. We'll see you next week.
Yep, we will see you guys next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this exciting and thrilling edition of the Outside Line. We'll see you guys hopefully next week if my scheduling is available.
Hey.
But we will see. Hope you guys enjoyed. And
we'll catch you in the outside line of Charlotte.
Amen.
I'll see you.